In the Dark. Written by Connor Cooper. Part 5. Edited by Joe Toon. Canterlot. Standing in the shade, Salem cautiously lifted his leg up before stepping onto the sunlight, pushing off with his other foot and standing completely in the light. Almost right away he felt the urge to go back into the shade, but was held by Rainbow Dash as she wrapped her arm around his neck, pulling him in while smiling.
See? You're fine. The sun wouldn't be melting any pony anytime soon.
Rainbow Dash grinned as the survivor lightly pushed her arm off him.
Rainbow, look. It's going to be a while till I get used to this, okay? I spent close to a year in an underground bunker terrified of sunlight. I'm not just gonna drop that fear overnight.
Salem grimaced before walking forward. Luna watched as the former human walk towards her, exchanging a glance from his red-helmeted eyes as he looked up. Taking his discomfort into consideration, the Night Princess lifted out one of her wings to cast a shadow to cover Salem, causing the Terran to rub the back of his neck out of a slight embarrassment.
Thanks, Princess. He sighed.
Not a problem, Mr. Gray,
said Luna with a warm smile while walking forward with the others to follow behind. Salem grunted a chuckle.
That makes me sound old.
So, just Salem?
Please.
Meanwhile, Celestia held her chin while inspecting the remains of the mirror. When she was told that the object shattered, she was expecting broken pieces of mirrored glass. What was in front of her wasn't what she had in mind. The mirror wasn't shattered. It was completely obliterated into gray sand, with its frame completely turned into slag. Whatever caused such a powerful relic to be reduced to dust while returning 4 residents of Equus back here had to be just as powerful, if not more, than the mirror itself. Only a few powerful magical beings could do such a thing. Of course, Luna herself being one of them who could match the level if they combined their magics together. Twilight and her friends, maybe. The Pillars definitely could. Discord, of course, since he is a literal god of chaos. And finally Tirek, but he's in Tartarus. The list was a short one, but none on the list would have done this to the mirror. She could rule out her sister and the elements since they were with her the entire time in the defense of the Crystal Empire. The Pillars were in a different part of the country at the time besides Magnus, who was currently overseeing guard training in Star Swirl, where the old mage was currently mentoring Sunburst. Discord was known for giving her a headache, but nothing as extreme as this. Most of his pranks were completely harmless, like changing the flavor of her cakes. Tirek, of course, if he wasn't in the most unbreakable prison, would have drained the magic from the mirror rather than destroy it. This whole thing was starting to give her a royal migraine in the past 24 hours. From planning to announce Twilight's coronation to the sudden invasion of the Crystal Empire, to the appearance of Salem, and finally the mirror exploding like this. The throbbing headache slowly increased, causing the immortal princess to give a low groan from the pain before dropping in the sand.
I'll have to put this aside for now. I've been neglecting my duties. Hopefully I get to Luna's counsel on this when she arrives.
Knocking on the door to the mirror chamber drew her attention before putting down a handful of mirror sand in her palm.
Enter,
Celestia answered. A guard entered the chamber before bowing his head. Your Highness, Princess Luna and the elements have arrived. Celestia blinked before looking up at the clock. She had been in here for 2 hours. Guess that old saying is true. Time does fly when you're busy. Back with the group. Salem almost stumbled backward from the side of the throne room. He had been briefly in the Crystal Castle's throne room, but it was in shambles after Sombra's attack. Although the former human was kind of in awe of the place, during his time on site he would try to find ways to keep his sanity when not working on one of his projects. Entirely watching some movies or playing video games in the site's recreation room, making and painting models for Titus, recording his thoughts in his personal logs, or reading a good book. He loves sci-fi, but with him literally living in a place that was ripped right out of a sci-fi novel, it kinda got a little boring, so he had taken a liking to fantasy books. Those books made him hope that one day he would see a castle. I guess you can say he finally got his chance. Milo was right next to him, also taking in the entire side of this place before tugging his shoulder and pointing to the amazingly designed stained glass windows. This entire place was a complete piece of art, rather than a fortress, but Salem didn't mind that. It was a beautiful place to live in.
Oh my, what is that thing?
Salem broke from his trance before turning to the 2 ponies standing on the other side of the throne room. Both wore fancy dresses that looked like they cost a lot of money.
It's It's looking at us.
Stay away from us. I'm going to call for the guards. Before they could, Salem felt the presence of Luna walk up to him.
Don't worry about them, Salem. It's with a great shame in my heart that this is what has become of equestrian nobility.
Luna's voice caused the nobles to back away before turning in a huff, while the two unusual beings turned to the princess.
Believe it or not, their ancestors were fair, more respectful and honorable. Sadly, years of comfort have turned their decadence into frustrating distractions.
So they all have a stick up their ass?
Luna smiled before nodding at the familiar human term.
Not the words I would have said, but yes, you can say that.
Salem gave a chuckle before Melo had out her hands.
Oh, yeah. What did you do with Sombra?
Oh, her?
Luna smiled.
She has a cell waiting for her in Tartarus.
Tartarus? Wait, to be clear, you're not talking about the Tartarus, as in the underworld, right?
Luna looked up trying to remember the old Greek legends back when she first visited Earth through the mirror.
It is a prison, but we do have a three-headed guard dog named Cerberus.
That's cool.
Well, if you stay, hopefully you and your companion will find that many things in Equestria are cool, as you would say.
Luna responded. Salem looked at her before turning to Milo, who shrugged. They didn't really have to be anywhere or bound to anything in this world. This was a completely blank slate for the two of them, even though they really didn't have anything back on Earth. Well, Salem didn't really know about his past, even when he tried to figure it out who he was back in the site. Either way, the princess was handing them a chance for something close to a normal life here. Sure, magic existed, but hey, it couldn't all be so bad.
Hold on. Let me ask Milo.
Turning to Milo, who was looking at him with her glowing white eyes, Salem raised up his hands.
Do you want to stay?
Salem asked in sign language.
I think we can trust them. They haven't tried anything so far. I'm down to stay.
Milo answered back. Luna at this time wasn't using the spell to see Milo, only seeing Salem move his hands in a strange manner. But when he nodded, she smiled.
If you would have us, we will gladly stay.
Excellent. How about I show you to one of our guest rooms for you to stay temporarily, while you're figuring out what to do?
Auntie Luna! A very loud voice echoed through the throne room, causing the smile on Luna's face to melt away in annoyance.
By my mother's mane.
Salem and Milo leaned over to look behind Luna at the source of the voice.
Who is that?
Luna gave a groan before looking down at Salem.
Some pony that I hope to avoid your meeting,
Luna grunted.
My nephew.
Salem blinked before a pony in a very expensive-looking outfit marched forward. Salem moved back to a normal stance while Luna turned to the pony. Auntie Luna, why did you and Auntie Celestia leave in the middle of my question? Blueblood shouted, causing the other two behind Luna to look at one another, wordlessly saying, Is this guy for real? Resisting the urge to roll her eyes, Luna turned to Blueblood and calmly replied,
Sorry, nephew, but the Crystal Empire was under attack by Sombra. We had to leave on short notice.
Caught off guard by her answer, Blueblood regained his composure with a grunt. I see. Well, now that you're here, you can perhaps tell why you and Auntie Celestia decided to choose Twilight Sparkle as the next in line to the throne.
That decision was made weeks ago. Both the Equestrian Solar and Lunar Councils have already agreed with us on this matter.
Luna sighed, crossing his arms. I have not! Blueblood pouted childishly. And neither have the rest of the nobles. I have every right to the throne, not Twilight Sparkle. I have a stronger claim to the throne. I am royal blood. Luna furrowed her brow at her nephew for saying something that Salem quickly concluded wasn't public knowledge.
Prince Blueblood, I will have you not speak in such a manner, especially in public. Furthermore, this should not be something to discuss out in the open.
Perhaps, but that doesn't excuse you and the council from not notifying us before making a decision, Blueblood retorted.
We have in fact notified you, you and your entourage.
Luna raised her voice, slowly losing her patience.
But, as always, you have failed to answer the summons like the last few times.
That may be so, but to choose that male from lower nobility as heir apparent is absurd. It was bad enough Auntie Celestia ascended her into alicornhood, and... Blueblood stopped to look up, noticing Salem behind his aunt. Who and what is this creature?
This is Salem, the creature who single-handedly defeated King Sombra by figuratively and literally castrating him from his power, and our guest, which I expect you to show a modicum of respect.
Luna but all out snarled at her nephew at his treatment of their guest in question before recomposing herself.
This conversation is over, nephew. We will speak no more on the matter.
Silently fuming and gritting his teeth, Blueblood stormed out of the hall, but not before giving Salem the meanest glare he could conjure.
What the fuck did I do to him?
Luna gave a sigh before turning to Salem.
Sorry about that. It's just...
Raising his hand, Salem smiled under his faceplate.
It's fine. And whatever he was talking about, I won't say a single word.
Salem answered, causing Luna to give a sigh of relief.
You have a good heart, Salem.
Lifting her hand to guide him, the Night Prince's smile returned.
Come now, how about I show you to your room?
Sometime later.
The first thing Milo did when they entered the guest room was to rush to the giant Vegas-sized bed and plop down on top of it before burying her skeletal face into one of the pillows. Salem, on the other hand, took off his helmet before resting it on the table next to a small controlled fireplace in the middle of the room.
Talk about the royal treatment.
Salem smiled while looking at the guest room, which in all honesty looked a lot bigger and nicer than he expected. Still, he kind of missed a laboratory that doubled as a place to rest with the key that led him to his grand escape from Earth. Speaking of which, he removed parts of his backpack before shifting the steel locks, opening it and reached in, pulling out items that he couldn't fit in the device he held. Placing a college textbook-sized black box onto the table, he reached back into the device and pulled out a small glass tube with a small blue and gold figurine within it, SCP-3973.
Hey there, Titus.
Placing the tube onto the black box, the whole thing opened up before glowing green lines appeared over the entire device, and a rough voice spoke through the box.
Inquisitor, it is good to see you alive and well. Did the device work? Are we far away from the fallen remains of Holy Terra?
The machine spoke in an AI-driven voice that was programmed to sound like a space marine from the Warhammer 40k franchise. Yep, that's right, bud. We're finally free.
And what of Lady Milo?
The little figurine asked. She is fine, my friend. Sorry it took so long for me to get around to pull you back out.
There is no need to worry, Inquisitor. I have spent a long time within the darkness of the void. A little time longer wouldn't break my iron will.
The figurine stated proudly before speaking again through the black box.
Where are we, Lord Salem?
Currently in the kingdom known as Equestria, on another world.
Interesting. What kind of Xenos are upon this world? Wait, have we been taken prisoner?
Quite the opposite, Titus. We're guests among the rulers of this kingdom.
Guests, And do you trust these Xenos, Inquisitor?
They give me no reason not to trust them, but I'm keeping my plasma thrower close just in case. Salem commented while the living plastic model gave an approving grunt.
Good thinking, Inquisitor. Will you get me up to speed on these Xenos?
Salem nodded. In a while. I need to make sure the rest are okay.
Affirmative. I will stand by. But if you will, Inquisitor,
Don't worry. I got you covered. Salem attached a cord to the black box as it began to shift, and holographic images began to appear on the other models of the tabletop series. Titus laughed while the black box began to open wide, before the object morphed into a display case holding a replica of the Battle of Macragge, while the windows tinted themselves and making it soundproof to let Titus give out orders to his battle brothers defending the ultramarine homeworld. As he sat on the bed, Salem looked down at the device he pulled from his back before a holographic display showed a few of the objects within his pocket dimension. Slowly, Milo crept up from behind before wrapping her arms around Salem and resting her head on his shoulder to watch him work. Smiling at his companion's affection, he reached out a gloved hand before scratching behind Milo's right ear, causing the SCP to smile at his touch. When I finish watching Underworld later. Rubbing her head into his cheek, he smiled. Glad we're on the same page. There we go. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I would like to thank my wonderful Patreons. Thank you, my Tier 1 Patreons Squall, Windfeather, Rainflicker, Starlight Blaze, Dreamless Portal, Tiny Equine, and Stu Hex. My Tier 2 Patreons Chase Lemaster, Sword Brother and Mordred, Solus, HKH4 aka Texture, and the Animated Ghost. And of course a large thank you to Silent Titan. I appreciate your guys' support so much, and it means a ton to me. Also, side note, I'm sure Sword Brother and Mordred likes this. He's a sucker for the 40k references, and I cannot blame him. That aside, however, I hope you guys have enjoyed. This has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.